Peace. Manny Megz was good.
How you doing?
Doing great. Welcome to Strictly for My D.I.G.G.A.Z.
Excited to be here, bro. I watched a couple of episodes and shit. Now fuck what you do, man. That shit's dope.
Yeah, you know, it's all about the beat makers, man. We don't get our just due. You know what I mean? We get used and abused, you know? Used and abused. So I had to just step up and take a stand, you know?
Yeah.
Things like that. So you out there in Arizona?
Yep. Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah, that's crazy, yo. Because I saw that in your bio. I'm like, Tucson, Arizona. So what's the vibe like out there? Are you sticking out like a sore thumb because you're doing that real boom bap?
It's kind of the culture out here a little bit. Like, a lot of the rap scene here is mostly towards boom bap. It's more like when you get into Phoenix, it's more like the trap shit. But Tucson is a very like underground hip hop scene. Like a lot of producers out here make boom bap. A lot of rappers out here rap over boom bap. So that's kind of the scene out here.
Okay, cool. So you're not sticking out like a sore thumb, feeling out of place or whatever. Yeah. That's pretty dope. So how did you get into the whole beat making flow of things?
Man, I started in 2020. I picked it up as like a like, you know, being bored at the house and trying to figure some shit out. I was fucking around with GarageBand a lot, like in 2019, but I never took it serious. And then 2020, I was like, man, I'm just staying in the house. I'm not doing shit. Like I might as well work on beats. And I grew up as a b-boy, so like a lot of my background is like Gang Starr, is like Big L, like a lot of that like 90s rap shit is what I grew up on. So when I went into production, that's what I wanted to make. Just because that's the music that I listened to. So I was trying to get into you know, more like the hip hop shit. So
so the whole boom bap thing, it just came naturally because that's what you was just accustomed to.
Yeah, and I understood because I understood how to dance to it and how to like b-boy to it. I understood drum movement, so I picked it up really fast. So like a lot of it had to do with just like understanding how drum breaks work and understanding how like when a beat drops or like, you know what I mean, like shit like that. I kind of got from b-boying, so I kind of had an advantage going into this shit. But yeah,
that's dope. So you said you played around with GarageBand, which is like a free like little app on the phone, right?
Yeah.
Right. So what are you using now?
So the progression of it went GarageBand, and then I went into using like a MIDI on GarageBand. So learning how to like actually cut samples on GarageBand, which was fucking terrible. So then I went on to I got an MPC Renaissance. And I was using that for a minute. Sorry, no, I got an MPC 2000 XL. I was using that, and then I went to the Renaissance, and then I honestly just make beats on Ableton. It's just the I can do way more with the beat on Ableton than I can with the MPC, and MPC gives it that feeling, but I've learned how to like bend it into the sound I want on Ableton. There's just more capabilities on there for me to do certain EQing and, you know, more of the engineering side of beat making. Like I care about how it sounds and like the quality of the sound, because that's what I've always focused on with my beats is like, are the drums punching and does it sound dusty enough? And I feel like MPCs get it dusty enough, but like Ableton lets me do more to my beats than MPC will let me.
Got you. So you're basically saying that using software gives you a lot more capabilities?
Yeah, I mean, personally for me, that's how I feel. I know in our style of music, it's like most people like going the MPC route, but I can do so much more in Ableton for me personally. So that's what I've been sticking to lately.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty dope. So, okay, you're using software now. So let me ask you a question. Are you digging in the crates, getting vinyl, or are you digging online? Or both?
I do both.
Mm-hmm.
I try to stick to going to get my records because like the samples online float around. Like you could hear the samples that are online, they're being used. Like it's not like you'll see a sample on YouTube one day and you'll hear it on whoever's record the next day. So
Right.
I try to stick to vinyl because the just the originality of the samples more so.
Mm-hmm. Right, right. So so you have a lot of record spots. So so do you go to record stores or you have flea markets, thrift stores?
I go to everything, bro. I go to estate sales. I go to like the main one I go to right now is Zia Records, and that's pretty much it. Maybe like Hurricane Records or like a couple of other local spots, but I go to thrift stores a lot, and I go to estate sales a lot because a lot of the times like these bigger estate sales, like I've caught like I think there was one estate sale where I copped like 300 vinyls for like $50.
Oh my goodness.
And it was fire shit. Like it was like
wow.
It was a lot of foreign shit because they were from the Middle East. So it was a lot of weird foreign shit. It was a lot of experimental shit, but they loved like they had a lot of like main ingredient records. They had a lot of like Isley Brothers, like shit like that. They had a lot of too, but that was my biggest come up ever, bro. That shit was crazy. But
so like as a digger, what's the most you would spend on a record? Cause I'm a dollar crate digger. You know, I don't spend a lot.
Yeah.
I like the dollar crates. What about you? You spend real bread, real guap on records?
The only time I spend real money on records is like Japanese records. And that's because like those are like more of like a collection thing, like just the artwork, just like how they have like that little like that sleeve. Like I like shit like that, so I'll pay the extra money for that, but I'm not out here spending 60 a record. Like I'm
right. No, neither am I.
Yeah.
So when you're in the record store, do you have an idea what you want, or you're just going off the cover? You're looking at the year, you know, the instruments being used. How do you know, like, yo, I'm buying that record?
I mostly go off the instruments. A lot of people, like the way I was taught was to go off the label, but I found going off the label too much will kill you. So like I really just like go off the instruments, and I'll go off of like basically like who's on the cover. Like if it looks like some wild ass psychedelic cover, I'll just buy it just because the cover is dope.
Right.
But I really just go off instruments because I know I have a set of instruments that I like to go to when I buy shit. But yeah, I mean, I don't really go off of anything else but instruments and the cover if it's dope.
So you don't stick to a particular year like the 70s or 80s or nothing like that. It's just strictly instruments, and if it's dope,
I'll go wherever because
it could be made in 1990 and you snatch it up. Because I know a lot of times when you don't know records like that, you find a lot of surprises. Sometimes just buying the record and because you don't know what's on it, and you find a lot of surprise, like, oh, you might be cleaning up the house and just letting the record play. Now, do you spot sample or do you play the whole album or what have you?
It depends. Like, it depends on the day. Some days, this is kind of what fucks me over sometimes, but this is also like what's helped me also. What I do most of the time is I have a specific mood that I'm feeling, and I know what I want to make, and I'll play a record, and I might hear a fire ass sample on the record, but it's not what I want to hear. So I'll come back to it, and I have a separate pile where some shit's dope, but I gotta come back to it because I'm just not ready to make it yet. So like, I'll I'll keep looking, and sometimes like I'll skip. If I'm really eager, I'll skip, but usually I just like I like to let it play, maybe just like chill
Right.
on my phone, shit like
Right.
shit like that. But it has its pits and its faults, but it's just like I gotta like the way I feel, I gotta capture it when I'm producing. I can't. I'm not banging like 30 beats out in a day. I just can't do it. Like
Right.
I might make like 4 or 5 beats in a week, or you know, if I'm feeling really good, I might make like 10 to 15. But I'm just like it's all off of a feeling. Like I gotta feel.
Right.
I gotta feel this shit.
So there's some days that you just don't feel like making beats, huh?
Nope. I gotta I gotta go out. I gotta talk to some women, or I gotta,
Nah,
like,
no
you know what I
doubt.
mean? Like, I gotta go live my life. Like,
Right, right.
I have to bring something back because if I just sit there and feel uninspired over a dope sample, what am I supposed to do with it? Like, program some drums and that's it. Like,
Right.
there's got to be more that goes into it because I go off of feeling. So
Got you. So, and I'm gonna get back to when you said feeling. So you have an idea in mind, a mood in mind when you're making a beat. You don't ever go with a blank canvas. Like, let me just play and see what jumps out at me with this. If a sample jumps out at me.
I've never done it.
Right.
I've tried, but every time I try it, like it comes out mid. And with me, it's like if I think a beat's mid, I'll cut it by like in the middle of making it. Like, cause I don't want to make a mid beat and like it be pitchable or it be like I gotta listen to it and be like, yeah, I made that shit. And if I listen to it back and I'm like, then I would just rather scrap it in the middle of me throwing it.
Right. So you have days where you're cutting the machine off and on, like, turn it off, go take a walk, whatever, come back.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
the majority of my beat making, bro. Is I like trying to get this feeling across, and if I can't get it across, I gotta go do something.
right,
I gotta go talk to someone or have serious like 2-hour conversations with somebody about something, and then I might be able to pull something out of that and then make a beat out of it. But
Gotcha. So back when you're talking about feeling, I think some of the best beat makers slash producers are feeling producers, because there's two types of beat makers, right? You got the feeling producer, but then you got the technical beat maker. Now, I noticed a lot of the technical beat makers, those are the ones that put out like tutorials, they selling drum kits, things like that. Because there's a few guys online that are, I consider them technical beat makers, and you can learn a lot from them on the technical aspect of it. But when you listen to their beats, it has no feeling to it. I'd rather a sloppy feeling beat that I feel than a technical, politically correct beat that is just, there's no feeling to it,
real shit.
Things like that. So I noticed the feeling producers, those are the ones out there doing the records and making the music with the artists. But then you have, and like I said, the technical producer has a place as well, but I noticed they sell the drum kits, they do tutorials online, they sell the packs, the sample packs, and that's their lane right there, but as a producer who's trying to get his sound out there, I think it's really better to be a feeling producer. So I feel you when you say, yeah, it's got to be a move. You got to feel it, definitely got to feel it. So when it comes to making beats, are you starting with the sample or do you start with the drums first?
I always do drums first. I always do drums first.
You know what's crazy? Because most of the people I've interviewed, it's only been like maybe 2 or 3 people that said they start with the drums first. And I always said, right now I'm starting with the sample first, but I started with the drums first for years. And I always said that once you get a solid drum rocking, you can pretty much put anything on top of it and it's gonna sound dope.
Yeah.
For the most part. That's the skeleton of the beat, the drum,
Yeah, and I think that for me, I mean, everyone works different. For me, it's like starting with the drums is I start with half the drums, right? So I normally start with kicks and hi-hats. The so everything I go off of is based on like, again, a feeling. So once I feel like these two sounds can collide, then I'll figure out what snare sounds best with the whole group. And then normally in most beats I make, I add like jazz hi-hats. So like I'll sample a jazz record that has good hi-hats. I'll try and strip the melody off just to get the hi-hats. So I have a big collection of just jazz hi-hats. It's normally in everything I make because they give me that feeling that I need. So then that goes in after I get like the main sample. And then after that, it's kind of just building around that and trying to make it like get that feeling that I feel and go from there, whatever I need, whether it's a crash, whether it's like a secondary instrument on top or shit like that.
Right. So you said, you know, you'll get sound from off a jazz record, a sample from a jazz record. So I guess that means what you're saying is you sample, all your drums are coming from vinyl or they coming from packs. I mean, where are your drums coming
I used to, like, when I didn't know how to make beats, I used to always do packs. But what I've come to find out is like sampling off records, if you're trying to get a really dusty, dirty sound, it's the best way. Now, if like I want my shit to punch, I might go with like a pack that I bought and mix it with like just some dusty drums. And that's the majority of what I do now is like find like that bass, like really punchy kick that like Arab music has.
Right.
And I might pull off of like some weird ass experimental French record that I thought had crazy drums and just merge them together.
Right. So you're looking for like, so when you're sampling a record, you're looking for open drum sounds then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, how hard is that? Because sometimes you don't, you know, do you have a certain library of records that are like drums?
Yeah. I have a lot of 45s
right
that are drums.
Right.
And there's this dope YouTube channel that has a bunch of drum samples. I can't remember off the top of my mind, but if you just look up drum breaks,
right,
like sample drum breaks, there's a page that has a bunch of them.
Right.
I fuck with that page. But for the most part, like Brazilian has a lot of dope drums, and like the old psychedelic European records have a lot of dope drums. But though with those, you like gotta strip the melody off and just get the drums. But that's normally what I do for drums, though.
Right. Now, you stacking your drums if they don't punch to make it like hit?
Yeah, I always stack my drums. Like that's a must, cause if you just have one layer of drums, I feel like it sinks behind everything. So my thing is like having three kicks, right? You have your dirty kick, which provides like the dust and that like reverby sound, so it that kick extends far. And then I have like a bass kick, which is like the kick that you can't really hear, but it's providing the punch. And then I have the kick that you're gonna hear in the forefront. So like that's like that kick is gonna provide like that main sound.
And they're all stacked on top of each other.
Yep. And then the same with snares. Like I'm gonna have one snare that's like super reverbed out that echoes for a long time. And then I'm gonna have another snare that's very punchy, and then I'm gonna have a snare that I want to be at the forefront of the sound.
Right. So with your beats, you want the drums in the front, so the drums are on top of the sample, not beneath the sample.
Yeah, and it goes back to me just being a b-boy. Like I lived off drum breaks. Like I loved that's the shit that made me move. Right. So I like drums are the biggest part of my music choice in everything. Everything I've done for the most part has drums, unless I feel like in my like executive producer mind, I want the artist to like go in a space where there's no drums and it's just his voice to break up an album that is drums and then no drums and then drums. So that's like when I'll do shit like that. But sometimes
how do you prevent your drum patterns from sounding the same? Are you against looping a drum loop or a break? Or do you have to chop it up all the time and play out your own kick, snare, hi-hat? Because I'm not a drummer, and I know it can get kind of redundant The
Yeah.
boom, boom, the boom, boom. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like I'll put it on a loop and
Right.
then I'll go back in there and pull off a kick here or put in an extra kick here. Like I think that if you're making a beat, I don't think it should take you 5 minutes to make it. Like you shouldn't be able to like get the melody, get the drums, loop the drums, and that be it. Like you gotta go in there, you gotta like pull like if you're doing it my way is way more meticulous because like I'm actually in there like dragging a snare like I'm in there dragging like at least 48 to 60 snares in their own individual spots and then changing the volume or the velocity of them. Like I get really, that's why like I work really slow is because I'm super technical about how I want things because it's gotta have like that playable feeling like it's being played by somebody.
Right.
So I get technical with that shit, but like you gotta go in there and change some things here and there for it to not sound repetitive because the listener will get bored.
Right, right. So it's safe to say that you do quantize.
I don't really quantize. I like so basically what I'll do is like I'll get so I'll get a drum break that I really like and I'll go off of that drum break with the kicks. So whenever I look at drum breaks, I never go off snares. I always go off kicks. Then I start with the kick. I'll have that one bass kick that I want to be at the forefront, have my own hi-hats, and then from there, I literally get like once I get the melody, I get every snare and I singly put it to where like I feel like it sounds right. So it's like I don't really like loop it every time. It's kind of just like dragging each one in different places.
Gotcha. And this is software allows you to do all of this better than hardware.
It's probably way easier with hardware, but the thing with hardware is I can't get in there and engineer the shit.
Right.
It'll probably take me like 30 minutes to make a beat on hardware, and I've used hardware forever, but it'll take me an hour to do it on software, but it'll sound just how I want it to sound.
So the difference between hardware and software is hardware, you can see it. I mean, software, you can see it. Hardware, you have to use your ear.
Yeah. And it's crazy. And it's crazy because I've always been a visual person. I've always been a visual person. Like my whole life, I've really always studied film. I've always been into like art, like visual art. Right. I've always been a visual person, so it's easier for me to look at it and like see where I need everything to be at than for me to just hear it.
Gotcha. So let's talk samples now. Now, you know, some people like looping, some people prefer chopping up the sample in pieces. What do you prefer to do? Are you against looping? Just looping looping a sample, or do you feel it has to be chopped up into a million pieces?
I think I don't have like a dead set way like okay, so for example, like a lot of music that I make is 50-50 because for example, so the song I did with Huss and West, that sample is like literally maybe half of a half second, like 1/4 of a second. And I stretched it and then I chopped it and I like it has its own like that sample is very chopped up and messed with. Like that sample is like super, you wouldn't guess the original sample.
Right.
So in that instance, when I needed to like match the drums, it kind of all just goes off of like how I need it to match the drums. Like if the loop just fits it so well that I don't even need to touch it, I go off of an executive producer mind. So I never feel pride or like have too much pride or ego to be like, nah, it's not messed with enough. It's not like this was too easy. I don't give a fuck about that. I care about who's gonna get on the song and if it's gonna touch their soul or not. Like that's the shit I focus on. So if it takes me like not that long to make it and it was just a quick loop and all I had to do was add my drums and change a couple things around, then I'll just do that.
Right.
But in other situations, like I need to twist it and chop it up and displace it so much that like it needs to get that feeling across. So I'll do all that just to get it, you know?
Right. So with your beats, like your sequences, right? How many tracks would you say your beats really range from? Like, you know, you have your sample, your kick, you know, how many would you say?
It's probably close to like 20 to 25.
Wow. In one beat, wow.
Yeah, that's and I'm so psycho about the shit. I add things you would probably never hear, but it just has that background effect that if you have some earphones on, it's just gonna give you a different feeling. Cause like there might be like a small like triangle in the back, but it's gonna have a certain effect on this point. Cause every beat I make, I look at as like a storyline. So like you have the intro. The intro to me is like one of the most important parts because that's how you have to grab someone. Then that beat drops. Then this is the introduction to the beat. So you have to like move things, change things, make it interesting. And then you have the bridge and then you have the hook, which to me is kind of like the climax. And then you go into like the second verse, which is like you've got to introduce a new instrument in that second verse at some point. Like you got to make it interesting, and then it repeats, and then you have the outro. So like I see everything is like plot points. Like you got to add this here or add that here. So that's why it's so long, because I might add something in the first half but take it out in the second, and then I might add something in the second.
Gotcha. So you're linking. So you're also, not only are you 20 tracks, but you're also linking sequences together.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Taking it, you know, copying the sequence and taking this out, adding this, and then linking it together, and so it flows seamlessly, like in song mode.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So when it comes to bass lines and bass sounds, are you playing off a keyboard, or are you sampling a bass note and putting it in 16 levels?
That's so, because I'm still new at this shit, right? I'm only 2 years into it. So I feel like bass lines have been like my the hardest part for me, because I always want to play a bass line, but it never comes out how I want to play it because I'm too new at it to understand like the movement of bass lines. So I really just like will take the original bass and mess with it and play with it, or I might like take the bass off of another record and switch the key to make it the same key. But I can't play my own shit, and I'm trying to get there, but it's hard for me right now.
Now I'm gonna ask you this question because it's like, you know, I've interviewed a few guys that have started making beats, dope beats at that, but they haven't been doing it long. Do you think software has something to do with that? And all these sample packs that are these guys, you know, haven't put in 10 years, 5 years, whatever, as far as making beats. And, you know, I know one brother, he's been at it a year, and it's like, wow, you're dope. Do you think software plays a part in that it gives them an advantage?
Yeah, because I think with a lot of people too, it's like a lot of people go into it with no musical background.
Right.
So they have these loops that they can go off of, and then they can like replace the loops with their own drums, or like it's just easier now because you're not having to play it. Like if you're using software like me, you don't have to play anything because you could just get a loop and put your own drums behind that loop and take the loop off, and it's someone else's drums, but it's someone else's drum sequencing, but it's your own drums.
Right.
So it's a lot easier it's a lot easier to do shit now, because in reality, if you just want to like pull someone's drums off and then like get a sample and then get like one other percussion, you could just have 3 layers and that be
right. Because I've been making beats since 1999, 2000. You know what I mean?
Shit.
And
Yeah.
I've noticed like a lot of these guys now are 2 3 years, 2 years in the game, 2 years making beats. And I'm like, like your beats are sounding like that already.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, it must be because nowadays software's in, and I guess it's made it easier now. It's not like the Pete Rock era where they really had to work and
Yeah.
and really, really get up in it. But so let's talk about BPMs. Now,
Mm.
do you have a set range that you like to work
I,
in, or it's all
yeah.
over the place?
I always start with 80, no matter what. I
80.
always start with 80. I'm at like, as soon as my software opens up, I put in 80, and that's where I start the whole beat off. And then
Okay.
going off of that, if I'm trying, like, if it sounds like more of a fast-paced song, then I'll up it or I'll lower it. But I go off 80 every time.
So you say from 80 to what's the highest?
Highest is like 87. I've
Okay.
never gone in the 90s.
Yeah.
I usually stay in, like, lowest I've ever done is like 72.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I used to be in the 90s, 95 and all that, but I like to hear the MC.
And
And I
that's my
don't
thing. That's my
right.
thing. Yeah.
And I want to hear the MC. I don't want the MC to feel like he's trying to keep up with the beat and she's trying to catch up with the beat.
Yeah.
So I'm liking those slower rhythms where you can hear every word he's saying. It's just a steady rhythm,
Yeah.
So I'm definitely loving that. So you did The Price of Love
Uh-huh.
and you did Creep with Huss Kingpin. How did that come about? Did you know Huss? Did he reach out to you?
So Pike, which is he runs a lot of the hip hop scene in Arizona.
Mhm.
He I guess some dude was like, "Yo, Huss, like, what's your email so I can send you a beat pack?" Huss gave out the email, and then Pike tagged me in it. And so from before it got to this point, I never really send packs out because I'm a producer that puts out albums. Like, I pay for features from artists to get them on my project so I can have them on my album. So I've always done that, and I've always wanted to save my beats for my albums. So I'd never sent out packs. The Huss was kind of like the first pack I've ever sent out.
And was that Creep beat on there, or did he ask you to do something?
Nah, so I sent him a lot of like darker shit. So the beat with Huss and Gun, that beat was in that pack that I first sent. But after that, he was like, because I knew he was working on Bjork 2, I think it was, or one of the Bjork project. Yeah, and so I sent him. No, he was working on Portishead 2 or 3. I don't know which one he's on yet, but he was so I sent him like a bunch of Portishead flips. And then I don't think any of them hit because I was sampling Portishead, and that's kind of hard to sample. So he said, "Yo, like, send me some some 3 beats." So I started working on. I never really make shit like that, so I was kind of like, "All right, cool." Like, I haven't dipped into that sound in a while. Like, that's the sound I started off with, and then I went into the darker shit. So I sent him Creep first, and then he was really fucking with Creep, and then I sent him like a pack that had Price of Love in it.
Right. Gotcha. Cool. Okay, so it wasn't like he said, "Yo, I like your beat." So he said, "Send me some threesome beats." So did you have to go back and listen to other threesomes to understand where he was coming from?
The threesome series was always my favorite series from Huss.
Yeah.
I was already listening to it. Like, I think Winner is like one of my favorite songs of all time. Like, that beat and what he did to that beat that shit is classic. So when I went into making those beats, I went in like listening to like Winner and like, you know, the songs that were on a lot of, I went back to Threesome One a lot because I fuck with that one too. But I mean, Threesome Three is fucking, that's my favorite project from Huss.
Yeah,
ever.
yeah, it's become mine because I had loved Threesome Two, but this one is I'm really feeling this one or whatever. So when it comes to giving him a beat, was that just on the arm, just to get your name out there, or does he pay for that?
So basically, like, and I don't want to get too much into the business shit,
Right.
but we've kind of like, so basically I sent the beat, and it's more of like, it's more of a work exchange. Like, I'm trying to get work from him for my own projects.
Right.
So, or he, you know what I mean? Like, he threw me the assist of getting me the song with Gun. And now my monthly listeners are at like close to 40,000 now. So like, shit like that we've done in exchange. And I don't want to get too much into the business, but like, he took care of me, and we kind of like, we have that relationship now. You know what I mean?
Right. Gotcha. So now, do you prefer to sell beats, you know, beats here and there, or do you prefer to do projects with artists and do the splits?
The only time I've sold beats, the only time I ever really sell beats is I used to do this series called the My D.I.G.G.A.Z Stimulus. So I basically give opportunity to like the rappers in like Arizona and, you know, Florida, Cali, like a chance to buy my beat for like $30. Right. And it's theirs, it's 100% theirs. I don't need royalties, nothing. You could just buy it for $30. And I did a series of it. I think I did 5 of them. And every single one sold out in like 10 minutes. Right. And I did that series because, one, the branding for it, like the exposure and the branding that I got from that was worth way more than the beats were. Right. So like, a lot of people were starting to recognize like, oh shit, his shit's selling out this quick. Like, now I gotta wait for this one to drop, and I'll hop on like the next one. And people were waiting, like they'd screenshot or they'd videotape them waiting and being like, yo, I just copped one, and they'll post it on their story, or like they'll get super hype about it. So that's when I knew like, all right, I'm gonna have to do more creative shit and out of the box shit like that, because I really don't enjoy just selling a beat. Right. Like, it's lifeless, because then they get on it, and I might not like how they went about it, or you know what I mean. And like, sometimes you got to sell beats to people you don't like. So I'd rather sell it to the dudes that are up and coming, really trying to get the shit for like a dumb price, but still manage to get my branding up and get my hype up as well. Because now like, I'm a very sought after producer here, and that's because I did smart shit like that, or did like t-shirt drops, or I did like certain like invite only listening parties or shit like that. But I mean, to answer your question, I really like fucking with artists more, like doing collab projects more than just like selling beats. I don't really sell beats like that.
Right. So is it really profitable to be a sample-based beat maker today? Or is it really more for the love?
It's that there's no money in this shit. There's no money. Because if you're talking about like a real placement, like on a label, if it's a well-known sample, like, and nowadays Universal's just buying up fucking catalog. So most of the time it's gonna be a Universal sample. So if you get into a like some kind of situation with Universal, they're taking most of your production credit because you used a sample that is theirs. Right. So there's really no money unless they're just, the artist is buying the beat up front and they're taking all the production royalties. Right.
Or if you become an in-house producer for maybe like Griselda.
Yeah, shit like that. Cause like certain camps will take care of you and make sure like, all right, I need this amount of beats and I could provide you with this amount of money, or like shit like that. But, or if like what I've been on now and lately, and I think what I'm gonna continue to be on is just going on like sites like Drum Broker or some sites like Boom Bap Labs, where they make their own samples from scratch and just working with other producers, because then you just split it 50-50.
Right.
If you get a big production credit. So like if I'm thinking like, all right, I'm trying to get a placement with then I'm gonna just work with this producer who can just make me a sample rather than trying to risk it and you get fucking 3% of production credit, which production credit's already like 4 or 5%.
Right, right. Gotcha. And I ask these beat makers this question all the time. Are you looking to make your Chronic album like Dr. Dre or your Diamond D Stunts, Blunts, and Hip Hop album?
Yeah, I feel like I like the way I see myself is a producer artist, but I don't rap, I don't do any vocals. Right. I just carry myself like an artist. So anytime I do anything, it's gonna have my name stamped on it. The only time I ever did something without my name really technically stamped on it was the Threesome 3. Right. And that it still had my name on Price of Love. So like shit like that is like I really go into like I will straight up just like if it's a bigger artist, I will take no money. And as long as my name is on the main list or like the main artist, I more so value certain things like that and getting your name up. And because when you get your name up, the bag is gonna come with it. Like I already had people hitting me up after the Hush shit, like, yo, can I buy some beats? So me just working with him has brought me money already. But shit where it's like me just trying to build my name up as a producer artist, I value more in that than just getting a quick rack or 2 racks or 3 racks. Right. Like I still want certain royalties and shit, and like and that'll always be the case, but there's other situations where it's like that's just not even worth it. Like now I have bigger artists that I'm working with that's under my belt because I was able to do that. Or even with putting your own projects together, like I got this project called Artist Pain coming out, and I've spent $8,000 to $9,000 on just features because that's how much that's how much I believe in my shit, but 2, like I need to make sure I'm getting the right people on it that are gonna like do my beats justice. So it's important to carry yourself like an artist because you are at the end of the day. You're creating art.
Right. So when you're spending this type of money on these artists, right, to get them on your project, if you don't like the verse or their performance, do you tell them like, hey, I don't go back, rewrite that? Because in essence, like when you pay them, they're working for you. And because some people just, these established artists will just throw you anything after you pay them or whatever. And it's like, I feel like we have a right to say, hey, you work for me because I'm paying you. Yeah. You work for hire. I don't like that. Change that. Or if I want to feature a verse from somebody, I have the right to say, you know what? Here's the beat. Record 3 verses to it and let me pick the best one out of that. I know it sounds crazy.
Nah, yeah, no, because
I'm paying.
Talking to an artist like, yo, I'm paying you for something. A lot of the time, they have an ego because they already feel like they're the best, so they feel like even their trash verses are great, and that's not the case. With me, I don't fight it. If you want to give me a trash verse and that's how you saw the beat and that's how you saw it going, then I'm gonna just take it off and like I just take it as a loss. Luckily, I haven't been through that, so I can't really like say that. But if it's a trash verse, I'm probably gonna look at the artist differently. Like if you're an artist, everything you do should be shoot to kill. Like you should be on whoever's record and be ready to murder everything. Right. So if you don't have that, then I probably shouldn't have worked with you in the first place. So I'm gonna just take it as a loss, and I'm not trying to work with you again.
Right. Because I see a lot of these, beat makers, and like I said, I didn't know your name before,
Yeah,
before
nah, for sure.
the
Yeah.
street thing. I didn't know who you were or whatever, but I liked what you did and things like that. And I always wondered, like, as producers, we give these MCs or artists these beats, they make albums with it, they tour off of it, and we going to work on Monday. They
Yeah.
touring and we going to work on Monday. And to me, it's just not fair. I think it's just really just foul. You know what I mean?
I think, and this is the only argument I have against that, because I 100% agree with you. I like producers need more credit in general. Period. Point
Right.
blank. I think this is where the debate is. A lot of people can make beats, and a lot of people have a unique ear to make beats, but they just don't. I feel like your voice is one in a million. You only have one voice. You can't change it. You can't adjust it. You can't get better or worse at it. You have one voice, and you have one brain that is attached to that voice that knows what to say. So you're more unique in that aspect, which I think is why artists are at the forefront, because it takes a more of like a one in a million person to make like a Huss, or to make a Stove God, or to make a West. Like it, those are very, very, very unique people that have a very unique voice that happen to rhyme very good, and like shit like that. That's kind of my only debate against it. But I mean, regardless of the shit, like I think producers need more credit in
Credit.
general.
You just need more respect.
Yeah, and a big part too is like producers don't know how to ask for it. Like
Right.
if you get a placement on an album and you feel like you really need the royalty splits, yo, hit the person before they put the shit out and be like, yo, what's up with the payment? Or yo, what's up with royalties or with whatever.
Right.
But a lot of people are just like, they get starry-eyed by a certain name, and
Exactly.
they'll be
Exactly.
like, and you know what, like this is worth it. Like, or
Right.
this taking the loss is worth it. And it's, if you feel like it is, then cool. But if
Right. Because I'm sure Rome Street, Stove God, they're not going to work on Monday. You know what I mean? They're not working 9 to 5s. And and you give these guys beats and they do a whole project, and it's like, don't leave us hanging. Not
yeah,
saying they've done that, but I'm just saying, this as an example, don't leave us hanging.
real
You know what I
shit,
mean?
real shit.
And
And
that's just how I feel about it. So before we go, like, tell me who's on your wish list to work with next. Do you have a wish list of any artists out there?
yeah, right now the top of the list is Raekwon.
Ah, Ray.
That's my favorite. Other than Big L, if he was alive,
Mm-hmm.
Raekwon it has one of my favorite voices of all time.
Gotcha.
But right now I'm in the process of trying to save up for a verse from him, um but I feel like that has to come later in my career when I'm more prepared for that.
Right.
Um but Raekwon, Kiss, um I fuck with Conway crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Um and that's Stove. And that's kind of it. Like,
Right.
because I already work with Huss. Huss was up there for me just off of, you know what I mean? Like most of his projects are just like his beat selection is very unique. I've
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
I've never seen anyone pick beats like him, and they're
Right.
very like oddball beats that like they're ill ass beats, but it's like, yo, where the fuck did you find this? Like I
Right.
feel like he's really tapped into production culture.
And a lot of his beats are really minimalist, very simple, very simple. And that's what I like about his. Out of all three of them, the Griselda guys, I've always liked Huss's album because his ear for beats, and he knows that he just gets those beats that are not overly produced.
Yeah, yeah. And
And
that's
I
one
appreciate
that's one thing I learned about like producing for him, is like he he won't, like, he's not gonna get on the beats that are like heavy on like crashes and shit like that. Like
some rolling snares and
yeah, like he gets on minimalistic beats because like the words need to be able to float off the beat. Otherwise, it's like there's no point in him on it.
Yeah, very hypnotic or whatever. Yeah, that's what I've always let I love simple but effective beats. That's just me, you know. It doesn't take as much, you know, to go into the beat or whatever. So I definitely love that. So what producers are you feeling? Any other beat makers you feeling that get you going, that get you like ready to go out there and make some dopeness?
I mean, just the classic producers, you know what I mean? Premier, Pete Rock, like all the classic producers always do that for me. But
because you got a dope dude on the West Coast, Clipto. Are you familiar with Clipto?
I don't think so. I'm really not tapped into production culture like that, and I should be. But
Clipto, Spanish Ran is dope. Conductor Williams, Camouflage Monk, you know, J.R. Swift.
I know those last three. I mean, shit. Yeah, that was a tough one for me. I'm just really not that tapped in.
Yeah, no doubt. You too focused on what you're doing.
You know and I look like I'll see who produced what, and I'll take a mental note of it, but I'm not really like, I just don't really look at it that much like that.
Right. True indeed. Manny Megz, man, yo, I appreciate you for taking time out your busy schedule, you know, to appear on Strictly for My D.I.G.G.A.Z season 3. That's gonna drop in August or whatever. But I had to recognize your talent. You know, I do this for us. You know, I do this so that the people can put a face to the name, you know, because, you know, we see Manny Megz, you know, no one knows who you are, you know, when you walk down the street or whatever. So I started this platform to put the producer on the same level as the artist and make them famous, you know, and things like that. So now when people watch this, they see you, they run up on you, they want your autograph now, you know what I mean?
Real shit. And that's real, bro.
Yeah, and they want to salute you, you know what I mean? So it's all about the beat maker and things like that. So that's why I started this. You know, I see you doing big things in the future, you know, and I know this is just the beginning. You know, you're only 2 years in, so I can imagine when you get 10 years under your belt.
Yeah, man.
It's gonna be really, really dope. So salute to you, man. I definitely enjoying that what you did for Threesome 3, you know, and I'm looking to hear some more, man.
Hell yeah, I appreciate you having me on here, bro. This platform is much needed for real.
Yeah,
and it's not a lot of people that are gonna take the effort to make it. So salute to you, bro. I appreciate it. I appreciate
you know, and this is beat maker to beat maker talk. Like you have to be a beat maker to ask these type of questions that I ask, and I feel it keeps the person I'm interviewing engaged, because beat makers love to talk shop. You know what I mean? And chop it up. These are not generic questions I'm asking, you know?
Real shit.
Not at all. So yo, enjoy your night. I think it's like what, 7 o'clock? Was it like almost 8 o'clock over there?
It's close to 8. Yeah, it's close to 8.
Yeah, it's about 11 o'clock over here. Things like that. So, you know, we got our contact information. Send me some stuff. Keep me tapped in.
I got you, bro, for sure.
All right, salute.
All right, bro. Peace.
I'm gonna tell you now, I ain't no holy individual, but I am righteous. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not gonna steal from you, I'm not gonna cheat you. I'm gonna tell you